Yes, Dak Prescott got the best deal in NFL history. Dak Prescott just pulled off something that a lot of people didn't think he'd be able to pull off. Dak Prescott getting paid on average $40 million a year, $66 million at the day of signing, $75 million by the end of the first year, $96 million like fully guaranteed, like all the way fully guaranteed, and $126 million guaranteed is something that when we started these contract negotiation talks about Dak and the Cowboys, we did not see all of this coming 2 years ago. Right? Like Dak literally got every single thing that he wanted. He got the 4 years. He got $40 million a year. He got fully guaranteed. He got the most guaranteed money. He got a no trade clause. He got a no franchise tag clause. Like he got literally everything the man wanted. It worked out in his favor. Part of that was because he was willing to bet on himself. Right? He was willing to accept the franchise tag, not hold out, bet on himself. He's been a company man. He told the company line every single step of the way. For Jerry Jones, he's been the ideal example for quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, especially off the field. He told the company line. And then also the fact that he got injured and they were horrible. Right? He got injured and they now have the number 10 pick in the NFL draft. He got injured. And when he got hurt, a lot of people, especially when they signed Andy Dalton last offseason, thought that he could replace Dak and would be a viable replacement, right? Like they thought that that was just like a clone of Dak, like he was the same thing, like Andy Dalton was something that really was Dak Prescott. And that ain't it. And they quickly found out, Andy Dalton is cool as a backup, but he ain't Dak. We really miss Dak Prescott around these parts, right? Like we really miss our franchise quarterback. So that is what got the deal done, right? So Dak Prescott literally won every part of his negotiation, like every single part. Let me run down it again. Dak Prescott got a 4-year, $160 million contract that averages out, if you just look at the big numbers, 4 years, 160, that's $40 million a year. Check number one. That's what he wanted. He got $66 million as soon as he signed his name on the dotted line as a signing bonus. Boom, check number two. He's owed $75 million by the end of year one. That's check number three. He's got 96 fully guaranteed money. Now, you'll see the guaranteed money that they'll put out, that's 126, but fully guaranteed, like no matter what happens. Even if we cut you after year one, you will get $96 million. That's check number three. It's the most ever due to a man fully guaranteed, $96 million. So he checked every single box. He got the 4 years, which you wanted. And at the end of 4 years, he'll only be 31 years old. We're watching guys in their late 30s, in their mid 40s, still play in the NFL. Dak Prescott plays a style of game. He doesn't run a whole lot. Now, although he did get hurt this past year, he doesn't run a whole lot. And so he is someone that can play the game for a very, very long time. So I say all of that to lead you up, giving you all the details of Dak's contract and how he was able to take Jerry and his son, the Joneses, to the woodshed on this contract negotiation, even though they've been holding out and playing with my man's money for 2 years, to talk about another guy, and that is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson can negotiate a contract this offseason. Lamar Jackson has accomplished way more in his shorter career than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has played 4 full years, and he got hurt around week 4 last season. So he's played 4 years and some change. Lamar Jackson has honestly only played 2 full years. For his rookie year, he came in the last 8 games or whatever, got him into the playoffs. But he's only played 2 full seasons as the starting quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. And all he's done is win an MVP the first year, unanimous MVP of the NFL. And then the second year, he won a playoff game, right? He's broken the quarterback rushing record. He has a better passer rating than Dak Prescott. He led the league in passing touchdowns his first year starting, and then one-upped it and got better as his completion percentage got better his second year starting. Like I said, he won that playoff game. Dak only has 1 playoff win. Lamar has 1 playoff win. Dak has no regular season MVPs. Lamar already has a regular season MVP. Lamar's team led the league in wins his first year. He was a number 1 seed. Dak hasn't been a 1 seed in his conference since his rookie year, right? So Lamar Jackson literally has better numbers in 3 years, really only 2 years full-time starting than Dak had in 3 years full-time starting, right? Right? Like so Lamar now is looking at Dak's deal at $40 million a year, at 66 at the end of the first year, or 75 at the end of the first year, 96 fully guaranteed. All of these numbers, Lamar's looking at all of Dak's numbers, and his eyes got to be this big. Like, oh my God. Like what? I can, like, the Ravens will literally have to write Lamar Jackson a blank check. The man has literally done everything times two that Dak Prescott has done for the Dallas Cowboys. There was three winners of Dak Prescott's deal. It was Dak and his team, so his agent, his brother, they were the real winners because he's the one that won the contract. And then the other two winners, because I said it was three, so Dak and his team, that's one winner, that's one group of winners. But the other two winners were Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Because both Lamar and Josh Allen have accomplished more than Dak. Josh Allen just took his team to the AFC Championship game. He literally just took his team to the AFC Championship game. Josh Allen wasn't very good his first 2 years in the league, but his third year he popped off. They got him a number one receiver, which Baltimore still has to do for Lamar, but that is neither here nor there. But they got him a number one receiver. That receiver went from being a number two receiver in Minnesota to being the number one receiver in the league. Leads the league in catches and yards. Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen goes from being a okay quarterback to being a top 3 MVP candidate. Happens when you get your team weapons and when you have a pretty good team. Josh Allen gets his team to the AFC Championship game. Josh Allen has his team a few plays away from being in the Super Bowl. So when Josh Allen sees Dak Prescott's deal, his eyes get this big. When Lamar Jackson, who's won a regular season MVP, who's won a playoff game, who has a better QB rate and completion percentage, more yards, more touchdowns, all of this stuff than Dak Prescott over his first 3 years, sees Dak's deal, his eyes get this big. They are true winners of the Dak deal because what Dak does, a lot of people thought that Dak was going to just be, even keeled. Dak was just going to middle with the market. No, Dak reset the market. Patrick Mahomes got his $45 million deal. That is different. The reason why Dak's contract is better than Mahomes' contract, Mahomes is 10 years, so he's locked in. You have a sense of security, and you see this big number, $500 million, $45 million a year, but it's very team-friendly. It's very, like, they can negotiate, they can rework it, and it's not a lot of guaranteed money, and there's not a lot of money up front. Dak's is a whole lot of money up front, and he's only 4 years, so he can redo this thing all over again in 4 years when he's only 31 years old. So Dak's deal is killing Patrick Mahomes' deal, to be truthful, right? Patrick Mahomes has this big old number, but that's just like pixie dust. It's like, it ain't really there. It's an illusion. Dak stuff's all up front, $75 million by the end of year one. So yes, Dak's, and there's a no trade clause, and there's a no franchise tag clause. And he's owed $96 million fully guaranteed. So even if you cut him after year one, you owe him $96 million. Yeah, that's why Dak's deal's better. And like I said, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen took note of Dak's deal because guess what? They've accomplished more than Dak. They're better players than Dak. There's nobody with eyeballs that can tell you Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. And that's just that simple. And so because Dak Prescott got paid so much, those guys are winners. Those guys are winners of the Dak deal. Shout out to K Coaching for tuning in. Thanks, K Coaching. But yes, so from there, the other question is, will Lamar Jackson and or Josh Allen try to get paid maxed out like Dak Prescott? Because we know the only knock against Lamar Jackson, the only reason why people still try to pretend like he's not a real NFL quarterback is the fact that he struggles come playoff time. Or they say he struggles, really his receivers struggle. Like if we watch the playoff games, how many balls his receiver drops? Like that, like let's be honest. His receivers drop everything. His number one receiver is a 5'8", 150-pound guy named Hollywood. No offense to Hollywood Brown, but his best number one receiver is a guy who is 5'8", 150, not 180, 150 pounds named Hollywood. Yeah, no, that's not going to get the job done. You need to go out there and get him a real number one receiver. Mark Andrews is good. He's a tight end. There's very few tight ends that can be your number one option. You got Darren Waller in Las Vegas. You got Travis Kelce in Kansas City. And you got prime Rob Gronkowski, which was years ago. But outside of Darren Waller in Las Vegas with the Raiders and Travis Kelce with the Chiefs, there's not very many tight ends in the NFL that can be your number one target. And Mark Andrews is not one. Cal Pitts from Florida, he will be someone's number one target. He's that tough. Cal Pitts, to me, outside of the quarterbacks, is the best player in the draft. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Justin Fields. He kind of stays on his first read too much. But I like Cal Pitts just as much as anybody outside of Trevor Lawrence. And to me, he's right up there with Trevor Lawrence. I think Cal Pitts from Florida is a can't-miss prospect, by the way. I think he's that good. To me, like, he was unguardable in college. And with the way the NFL works and his body size and his speed and all that stuff, he'll be unguardable in the league. But that is what the Ravens need to prioritize this offseason. Their defense, stout, right? Great defense, great offensive line. They have a right tackle kind of problem, but it's a good problem to have. They have two left tackles. They have two really good left tackles. They're going to have to figure that out. But outside of that, the team stacked. The team is stacked. Shout out to Husky, but I like Devontae Smith, but I think Cal Pitts as the NFL prospect is better than Devontae Smith. Cal Pitts is like 6'4", 240. Probably is going to run like a 4.4. He's probably going to run something like a 4.4, and he probably going to have like a 38-inch vertical. The man is sick. He's insane. Devontae Smith is a great college player, and I think he'll be a good NFL player. Like, he reminds me a lot of Marvin Harrison, but he's like 6'1". It's like 175. He's very frail, frail thin. He runs perfect routes, right? Like, he runs amazing routes, but getting to the league is different. He ain't playing at Bama no more. They ain't going to be wide open all the time. You're not going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, at Bama, you run a lot of stuff and you end up wide open. You're just that much better than the guy lined up in front of you. And your quarterback's that much better than than the defense lineman. Your offensive lineman is that much better than defense lineman. Your quarterback's smarter than the defense, right? Your coaches are smarter than the coaches on the other sideline. And in the NFL is different. A lot of physical traits go to the best. A lot of the best NFL players are physically different. Cal Pitts is one of those. A lot of the best NFL players are athletically different. Cal Pitts is one of them. And that's why Cal Pitts is Cal Pitts is going to be a problem for the league. He's going to be a problem. I think he's going to be more of a problem than Devontae Smith, at least initially. And now Devontae Smith can grow into one of the best receivers in the league, and I wholeheartedly believe that. But jump straight off the porch, straight in the gate, I think Cal Pitts is going to be a problem for any defense. Shout out to the scout. It says Ravens need to get a wide receiver like Allen Robinson along with drafting a legit wide receiver. Absolutely. But the problem with Allen Robinson, they just franchise tagged him. That's the biggest problem. I mean, yeah, it would be amazing if Baltimore could go out and get Allen Robinson, but Chicago's not dumb. They're like, man, he's the best, one of the best players on our team. And that's the ugly thing and the beauty for teams, but the ugly thing for players in the NFL is they have this thing called the franchise tag where you can keep players an extra year even though they might not want to be there, right? Or they might want to try to go get paid. You give them the average salary of the top 5 players, which sounds good on paper, but if I could negotiate my salary, then I would be getting with other teams. I wouldn't be the average of the top 5. I might be number 1. Allen Robinson would be at the top of players getting paid if he could hit the free market, but because of this stupid thing called the franchise tag, he won't get that chance, at least not for another year, right? So those are some of the things that are going on in NFL. Now moving on, he got franchise tag yesterday. Yesterday was what they call tag day, and Allen Robinson got tagged by the Bears. So, but good pointing out the scout. So the other thing I wanted to get to was we were talking about Devontae Smith, and Devontae Smith went to where? Alabama. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, by the way, too, guys. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. He went to Alabama, and during his course of his career at Alabama, one of the quarterbacks, at least for his freshman year there, was a guy by the name of Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts is now the presumptuous starter of the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people were scared that the Eagles were considering taking a quarterback because they have the number 6 overall pick in a quarterback-heavy draft, right? You got Lawrence, it'll go number 1. Zach Wilson might go number 2. Justin Fields will go number 2 or somewhere in the top 10. Trey Lance will probably go in the top 10 to 15. Mac Jones will go in the top 10 to 15. Like, this is a quarterback heavy draft, right? Like, super quarterback heavy. And the Eagles have the 6th pick. And so a lot of people were speculating, because they, ran Carson Wentz out of town and shipped him to Indianapolis, that they might take a quarterback in the first round with that number 6 overall pick. But the owner, Jeffrey Lurie of the Eagles, came out and said, Jalen Hurts is our guy. We don't want to have unnecessary competition against Jalen Hurts, because we want to see what he is. I mean, we took the man in the 2nd round of just last year's draft. We replaced Carson Wentz with Jalen Hurts for the last 4 games of the season. So we want to see what he is. Now, in those 4 games, Jalen Hurts gave the Eagles a spark, right? Like, Jalen Hurts gave the Eagles something that Carson Wentz wasn't. He was only 1-3 in those games. As a team, they weren't very good, but Jalen Hurts put on individual performances that were clap it up about, like, that you could clap it up about, that you was like, okay, we have something. We don't know what we have yet, but we know we have something. And not only do we know we have something, we know that the team responds well to Jalen Hurts. And that is a trait about Jalen Hurts that can't go unnoticed, right? The fact that although he's not the most talented guy, he's not the biggest guy, hell, he's not even the fastest guy, even at the quarterback position, right? He's probably like 6'1", 6'2", around 215 to 225, somewhere in that range. He probably runs like a 4.5. We've seen Kyler Murray's faster. Lamar Jackson's faster. Josh Allen's probably faster. Like, so he's not the fastest guy. He's not the biggest guy. He doesn't have the strongest arm, obviously. But the guy is a competitor. And the guy is a leader. Like, he is someone, Jalen Hurts is a player that I take on my team every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Why? Because he is going to give your team hope that they can go in and win the game. Think about this. Jalen Hurts, as a true freshman, came to Alabama and became the starting quarterback. Yes, we know Alabama doesn't have the greatest lineage of starting quarterbacks, but it's still Bama. Like, if you are a freshman coming in and becoming the starter at any position at Alabama, the most competitive school in football in the country, the best school in the country of football, the most competitive school in the country at football, no matter what the position, you come in and you take the starting spot, that is impressive. Okay, you're not the best quarterback. They replace you at halftime of the championship game. You just went to the championship the year before, and they replace you at halftime of the championship game. You don't cry about it. You don't pout. You congratulate your teammate for winning y'all the game. You stick around the next year. Tua gets hurt. You come in relief duty, win the SEC championship. Win the SEC championship in relief duty. You guys lose the championship game. You finally transfer out after you graduate. So you graduated at Bama, transferred to Oklahoma, win the starting job at Oklahoma over a talented 5-star true freshman and Spencer Rattler, who I think will probably be the number 1 overall pick when he comes out after this season, after the 21 season. You win the starting job at Oklahoma. You're a Heisman finalist. You get thrashed by, ironically, Bama in the playoff. But hey, it is what it is. You lose to Bama in the playoff. You go to the draft. Everybody's telling you how you're not a quarterback. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's doing that. But the Eagles saw something in you that they didn't see in Carson Wentz. The Eagles saw something in you, and I bet you it had a lot to do with his off-the-field character and his in-the-locker-room leadership more so than his physical play on the field. Because one thing we know about Carson Wentz, he wasn't all the way there mentally. There was several reports that Carson Wentz struggled with the Philadelphia media. He struggled in the locker room. He wasn't the most likable guy. Like, all of these reports came out, and who would know that best than the team owner, the team GM, the team coaches? Because why in the world would you draft a quarterback in the 2nd round? Not a quarterback in the 5th round, not a quarterback in the 3rd round, not a quarterback in like the 6th round, or undrafted free agent. You signed a quarterback in the 2nd round, a prime pick in the NFL. A prime pick in the NFL. 2nd round picks are like diamonds. Prime. Look how many great players come out of the 2nd round in the NFL. A prime pick in the NFL. and you draft a quarterback, not a player to help your quarterback. You draft another quarterback. Think about when the Patriots drafted another quarterback. It wasn't until Brady was in like year 15 or 14 or whatever when the Patriots decided to draft a second-round quarterback. Carson Wentz was in year 5. He was 26 years old. So what he's, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they drafted a quarterback. Why? Because they knew, I think the Eagles knew, even though they just gave Wentz a $100 million extension 10 months prior. They watched the season and said, it's time to get another quarterback because of one, injuries. Injuries probably the number one reason. And the second reason was because I think they didn't think he was mentally tough enough to handle the Philadelphia media, mentally tough enough to handle the scrutiny that comes with Philadelphia, mentally tough enough to handle what playing in the city of Philly was like. Don't believe me? Take his teammate Jason Peters. Jason Peters, the offensive lineman for the Eagles, recently came, probably be in the Hall of Fame. Jason Peters, probably a Hall of Fame player. Came out and said, playing in Philly's tough. Said, playing in Philly is tough. Playing in Philly is not like playing in Dallas, or not like playing in Houston, or not like playing in LA, or not like playing in, a different city. Like, playing in Philly is like a major city with a small time mindset, right? They want you to win. And every player gets that criticism, harsh criticism. And if you're the quarterback and you seem mentally weak, they're going to take it out on you. It's just the truth. That is just the truth. So, and that got to Carson, because you got to think, Carson Wentz didn't go to Alabama. Carson Wentz didn't go to Auburn or Georgia or Clemson or Oklahoma. He went to North Dakota State, Division II, FCS or whatever they are. He went to a North Dakota State. They probably had 20,000 people in the stands. Alabama, they get 100,000. Auburn, they get 100,000. Michigan, they get 100,000. Ohio State, they get 100,000. Probably had 35, 40,000 maybe in the stadium, maybe. And he goes from that to the Philadelphia Eagles. And he had some initial success. Some really good success those first 3 years. But then Nick Foles. Then Wentz gets hurt the year he probably should have won the MVP. And then Nick Foles wins the Super Bowl. And then there's people saying maybe Nick Foles should be the starter over you. And then Nick Foles goes, they move off of him. And you get hurt again. And Nick Foles came to, before they move off of him, you get hurt again. And then Nick Foles comes in and wins another playoff game. I think that messed with Carson Wentz mentally. I think that messed with his head. And then you move off Nick Foles, you get the big contract. So you look good, it looks happy, everything's going all good. You get the big contract, and then after 1 year, they draft a quarterback in the second round. So it was never really your job. Guys like Lamar Jackson ain't getting quarterbacks drafted after them. I can guarantee you Dallas, who just gave Dak Prescott $160 million, is not drafting the quarterback in the second round in the 21 draft or in the 22 draft. I can guarantee it. But that's what Philly did to Carson Wentz. So, yeah, like I think he was all the way messed up mentally, after just getting 100 minutes. First, Nick Foles wins the Super Bowl. Then he wins another playoff game. And then every playoff game Carson Wentz plays in, he gets hurt, right? He got hurt against the Seahawks or whatever. And then after getting a $100 million deal, looking like you the man of the hour, the man of the town, the man of the city, they draft a quarterback in the second round. He couldn't catch a break, at least in his mind. And then he goes out and plays bad and gets benched for said quarterback they took in the second round. And that quarterback, although he only goes 1-3, looks like a better leader and the team looks more energized and energetic under Jalen Hurts. So, yeah, that's rough. Carson Wentz. But Carson Wentz, he's out of there. He's with the Colts now. So hopefully he has a good career. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. So one time I want to rewind a little bit and talk about Lamar Jackson. For those of you that just joined, once again, I'm Jeff Lightsy Jr. at the Black Boss channel. Dak Prescott got a huge deal. He beat the Cowboys in his deal. Dak Prescott got $40 million a year. Dak Prescott got $66 million as a signing bonus. $75 million by the end of year one. On average, a $40 million deal, a 4-year deal instead of a 5-year deal. What he wanted. He'll be up for another contract at age 31. 96 fully guaranteed dollars, 126 guaranteed money. The deal can be as much as 164 instead of 160. No trade clause or no franchise tag clause. He literally won every single aspect of his deal. Every single one. He won it. He literally won every single aspect of the deal. There's not a part in his contract that he lost. But what also he did was continue to reset the quarterback market. So guys like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, teams will have, they're the losers. The losers of the Dak Prescott, I talked about the winners of the Dak Prescott deal was Dak and his team. So his brother, his agent, everybody, because Dak's getting paid in a state with no state income taxes. He's getting paid a lot of money. Although, also, did you guys know Dak Prescott, since he's entered the league, has made over $50 million in endorsements? I found that out the other day, and it was just mind-blowing to me. Right? Dak Prescott is on a lot of commercials. I didn't know he made $50 million in endorsements between his chunky Campbell's soup, he's got some insurance commercials. He's got some other commercials. He's got some nice endorsement deals. So although he was making pennies on the dollar for Dallas the last 4 years, over Dak's first 5 years, technically, even though he didn't really play much last year, over his first 5 years, even with making $30 million last year, over the course of his first 5 years, his average salary has been $7 million a year. They've been getting Dak at a hella discount, a super discount, because he was a third-round pick. So he's averaged only $7 million over his first 5 years in the league. How he supplemented himself, how he's been able to feed his family, besides the $7 million, which $7 million, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to most people, but to an NFL quarterback, it ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? $7 million ain't nothing, especially looking at his contract now. But how he's been able to feed his family, not just from that $7 million, he's made over $50 million in endorsements. I guess that's the perks of being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. When you're a Dallas Cowboy quarterback, if you play for the Dallas Cowboys and you're a really good player, you get the primetime broadcasting gigs. Think about the broadcasting gigs they had over the last few years. They had Monday Night Football when Jason Witten was on there. Tony Romo's got CBS. They get the Super Bowl every 4 years, every 3-4 years. And Troy Aikman has Fox, and they get the Super Bowl every so many years. So if you're a starting Dallas Cowboy quarterback, you get some really good gigs even after you're playing. And while you're playing, you get a lot of good endorsements, because Dak has made $50 million being the star quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys in endorsements alone. Shout out to Dominique Lester. He's tuned in. And that's what being and you're absolutely right. That's what being the starter for the team with the star on the helmet, the most valuable franchise in all the sports, not just in pro football, but all the sports. Dallas Cowboys are worth the most money than any of your favorite football teams across the sea, any of your favorite football, as in soccer. They're worth more than the Knicks, than the Lakers. They're worth more than them. They're worth more than the Rams, the Raiders, the Patriots, all of them. Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones's team, the team that plays in Arlington, Texas. They're the most valuable franchise in the NFL. And so if you're the quarterback of the most valuable franchise in the NFL, or if you're a former player of the most valuable franchise in the NFL, or the most valuable franchise in all the sports, you get really good gigs. While you're playing, you get $50 million in endorsements. And when you're done playing, you get a primetime position in the broadcast booth. So I can guarantee you in 10, maybe 15 years from now, whenever Dak Prescott decides that he's done with football, ESPN will be calling, CBS Sports will be calling, NBC Sports will be calling. Somebody going to call to get Dak. Because right now, out of the 4 major sporting departments, I would say ESPN, NBC, CBS, and Fox, over the last couple of years, until Jason Witten decided he was terrible at broadcasting, which he was, and came back to football, Jason Witten was on Monday Night Football. Tony Romo's the highest paid broadcaster in all of broadcasting for CBS Sports calling games. Troy Aikman's been with Fox on primetime Fox spots with Joe Buck for the last 20 years. So they had 3 of the top 4 dogs occupied in primetime television. Dak will be the next one if he decides that's what he wants to do. So that's what playing for Dallas Cowboys gets you. It's amazing. And so I say all of that to say this. What Dak Prescott's deal just did It got Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen paid. Oh, and don't forget, yeah, Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin is with the NFL Network. He's not in prime time like those guys. Like those guys are on every Sunday. Tony Romo, Troy Aikman, and then Jason Witten used to be on every Monday night with Monday Night Football. But Michael Irvin's in the NFL Network. Deion Sanders for years was with the NFL Network. Yeah, I mean, these guys are really great players too. Don't get me wrong. Like these guys are Hall of Famers. Troy Aikman's in the Hall of Fame. Michael Irvin's in the Hall of Fame. Deion Sanders in the Hall of Fame. Tony Romo will never be in the Hall of Fame, but Tony Romo is like really smart, right? Like he's really good at what he does. When he's on TV, I'm like, wow, like this dude really knows football. Like he's really good at being a broadcaster. And that's why he negotiated the biggest. I think Tony Romo gets paid like almost $20 million a year to call games on Sundays. Like he's that good and he's worth that much to CBS. So yeah, playing for the star gets you a lot of perks during your playing career and post-playing career. And playing for, and Dak Prescott just got Lamar Jackson a blank check, Josh Allen a blank check. The question is, would they? Now I'm going to ask you in the comments, leave in the comments below. If you were Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, and knowing that a guy like Stephon Diggs came to your team and changed the outlook of your team, changed the outlook of your offense, changed the outlook of your game, going out and getting great receivers and great players on your team, would you max out the amount of money that you could get? Like Dak. Dak says, screw it. I've been getting paid $7 million on average over the course of my first 5 years. I'm maxing out. I'm getting every single penny that I would get. Would you, if you were Lamar Jackson and you know you need better weapons, or if you're Josh Allen and you like having guys like Stephon Diggs on your team, would you max out every single dollar that you can get from the Ravens and from the Bills? Because that's something they're going to have to consider. Because the thing about Dak just took all this money, but he's probably going to lose Amari Cooper. He's probably going to lose Zeke. He's probably going to lose an offensive lineman or a defensive player too, because the NFL is a salary cap league. You can't keep everybody. Amari Cooper's guaranteed money is over after this season. Amari Cooper's guaranteed money is over after this season. He's the highest paid receiver, or one of the highest paid receivers in the league. So you're probably going to lose him. You're not going to re-sign him after this year. You're going to cut him after this year. Zeke is one of the highest paid running backs in the league. He was the highest paid running back when he signed his deal. And his guaranteed money is over after the 22 season. So you might look to move off Zeke after then. So before Dak's contract is over, he's probably going to lose Amari. He's probably going to lose Zeke. You're going to lose some pieces because his salary is so high. So when Lamar and Josh Allen are redoing their deal, do you, as the quarterback, as the best player on the team, want to be able to go out and get better players or go out and upgrade your team? Or do you want to cash out? There's really no wrong answer, right? Like if you're Lamar Jackson, you earned the money that Dak's getting or more, right? You've earned this type of salary. If you're Josh Allen, you've earned a big payday. So there's no wrong answer. It's just a decision you will have to make because the team is going to tell you. They're going to pay you whatever. They're going to write that blank check for Lamar Jackson. You don't lose. You don't get rid of Lamar Jacksons. You don't lose Lamar Jacksons, right? Because they don't come around every draft. Because they don't come around every so often. Like he's a rare player. So they're going to write that blank check. Ron DeCostas, Jim Harbaugh, like the owners of the Baltimore Ravens. But in order to do that, they're going to have to get rid of guys like Marcus Peters or not Ronnie Stanley or Orlando Brown at the right tackle, or, you know what I'm saying, Calais Campbell on the defense. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, they might not be able to re-sign Mark Andrews, right? Like, there's going to be consequences to signing a big long-term deal. You lose players because you can't pay everybody. So if you're Lamar Jackson, if you're Josh Allen, ain't going to be no more Stephon Diggs walking in the door. Ain't going to be no more, you know what I'm saying? Ain't all the players on the defensive side Baltimore gets every year, you're not going to get all of those guys because you got the highest paid contract in the NFL. So you could do like a Patrick Mahomes style deal, which is huge, looks big on paper, $500 million over 10 years, over 12 years and all this stuff. Looks huge, but it's super team friendly because Patrick Mahomes likes having Travis Kelce. The same year they re-signed Patrick Mahomes on a big deal, they also re-signed Travis Kelce. He likes having Tyreek Hill, who got a contract the year before. He likes having guys like Mecole Hardman. You know what I'm saying? He likes having a nice offensive line. They looked horrible in the Super Bowl because both his tackles were out, but he likes having those guys up front. He likes having a couple playmakers on the defense side of the ball. It's not a great defense, but there's a couple playmakers over there like Tyrann Mathieu and Frank Clark plays good occasionally. He likes having those guys. So that's why he structured his deal. Looks huge, a gold number, $45 million a year, all that stuff, but it's super team friendly. And like I said, there's no wrong answer. If you want to get paid, you deserve to get paid. And I'm never a fan of millionaires cutting billionaires deals. You're never going to hear me getting mad at a player for taking the maximum amount of money that he can negotiate. I'm never going to get mad at a player, ever. They a lot of people in the media like to call them selfish or silly or whatever for getting the maximum amount of money. No, you're never going to hear me say that. Take all the money that you can get. But if you want to cut the team a deal for the betterment of the team to try to go out and win Super Bowls, then I don't blame you. That's what Brady did for years. It worked in New England, and they won 6 Super Bowls because of it. That's what Brady's doing now in Tampa. It worked this past year, and that's why they just won a Super Bowl, because they were able to go out and sign Rob Gronkowski, who caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. They were able to go out and sign Antonio Brown, who caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. They're able to re-sign Levante David, who was one of the best, most underrated linebackers in the league. They're going to try to re-sign Shaq Barrett, who raised hell, especially during the playoffs, for Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. But that's what happens when you take team-friendly deals, or you can get paid and let the team figure out the salary cap and how to fill the rest of the spots on the roster. There's not a wrong answer. There's not a wrong answer at all. So that's the decision Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are going to have to make in the very, very near future. The NFL, man, it's great, man, because you get to watch these quarterbacks and you get to watch these players and the contract negotiations and what happens next. Shout out to K Coaching. Lamar should get paid. I believe Lamar should get paid too. Like I said, you're never going to hear me criticize a player for taking the most amount of money. Lamar Jackson is looking at Dak Prescott's deal, 4 years, 160, and knowing he can get 4 years, 175. He knows he can get it. He knows he can get it. Like, there's no reason for him not to be able to get it. But would it be in the best interest of the team if Lamar Jackson gets 5 years, 160 or 5 years, 150? Save the team a little money, and maybe you get paid on the back end from endorsements or whatever, but it's a salary cap league. And so when you play in a salary cap league, there's certain things there's certain rules you got to abide by. But once again, I mean, these owners are billionaires. Lamar Jackson has a 10, 15, if we're lucky, year window to get the maximum amount of money. There's very few players that make more money when they're done playing football than they made playing football, especially quarterbacks in these numbers that they're getting now. Like Dak has made 50, probably $60 billion in endorsements since he entered the league 5 years ago. So that's roughly around $10+ million over the last 5 years. His contract is going to give him $75 million in year one. It's hard to top that. It's hard to top that, right? Like on any level, it's very hard to top that. So you have a 10-year window to make the money, 2 contracts, if you're lucky and really good and stay healthy, maybe 3, to maximize as much money, to squeeze as much money out of those billionaires as you can. Because it's very rare that you see players, they're making this kind of money anyway, $40 million a year or whatever, make 40 or more million a year once they're done playing football. It's very hard, very, very hard. So that is what it is. That's all I got for today, guys. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsy Jr. with the Black Boss Channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. And follow me on Instagram at JLightsy7. I post content on there all the time. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsy Jr. with the Black Boss Channel. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button on